Hello everyone, my name is Sylvan. I'm a co-founder of Parasail, and then today I want to give a quick introduction about how do we build trust and drive adoption for DePIN through restaking. So just like quickly, what is Parasail? Parasail is the first decentralized SLA engine powered by restake assets. So in general, we build two things. One is the SLA engine, which is like the omni-chain DePIN proof of service. We collect, extract DePIN proof of services and finality, and we broadcast that to more like blockchain ecosystems. And so it's a way to kind of enable multi-chain and omni-chain DePIN use cases. And second is that we set up economic guarantee pools of restake assets. We use that to provide economic security to DePIN services. So you can think about this as like the support or like a refund department of a infrastructure services in a centralized sense, but it's just like we are able to do this with restaking with the omni-chain DePIN proof of service for DePIN. So we are the fastest growing protocol on both Filecoin and across DePIN. We have achieved over 80 million TVL since our launch. We have over 10 million DEX liquidity. We have secured over 20 DePIN partners. So this is like an overview of our ecosystem. As you can see, lots of DePIN have participated in our ecosystem. We also onboarded lots of DeFi projects to create like a overlap between and synergies between DeFi and DePIN. We also have cross-chain infrastructures, and then we are onboarded and integrated with many major blockchain ecosystems, including Filecoin. And then we have been backed by industry-leading investors. So today's agenda, I want to mainly just like address three things. So first is why is trust important to DePIN adoption? And second, how is Parasail building the trust for DePIN through restaking? And third is like, what does that even mean for Filecoin? So the first one, why is trust important to DePIN adoption, right? So, I mean, we all know DePIN is kind of a main narrative for mass adoption for Web3. It's a decentralized physical infrastructure network for those who do not know what DePIN is. And then it's basically using cryptographic incentives to coordinate hardwares and then provide like services. So if we look at like a typical DePIN structure, right, you can think about it. They're like generally like 5 layers. I mean, DePIN is usually more complicated than like a normal blockchain because it carries more service level information. So you have all the regular blockchain stuff, right? You have the consensus, you have the execution, and also you have the application layer, and that's very similar to all the other blockchain ecosystems. But you also have hardware and service level agreement informations for DePIN, and that is DePIN specific because for like a regular blockchain, if you think about Ethereum, there aren't that much of a hardware service being carried out, and therefore there is a lot of demand, or like you don't really need to record that much of a service level information, and there's no service level agreement. So the service level agreement of Ethereum is kind of equivalent to the consensus, to the security of their blockchain. But for Filecoin, if you think about it, there's the security for the Filecoin blockchain as well as the security of the Filecoin storage services. So just to sum it up, right, there's significant challenges for DePIN adoption. A secure DePIN blockchain does not mean a secure DePIN service, right? Because DePIN, as like we mentioned earlier, DePIN transactions are conducted on-chain. All the services are usually performed off-chain. And it's really hard to build like trust among users without strong economic assets for SLA enforcement, and that usually requires a DePIN project to have very strong tokens, and we all know that it's very difficult to do so. And without trust in SLA, it's very difficult to grow DePIN adoption among real users and compete over its centralized counterpart. So it's kind of like a chicken and egg problem. So how does Parasail aim to address all these challenges? We are thinking about, is it possible if we can use like restaking to help emerging DePIN build their trust? If you look at what the current DePIN ecosystems is like. So basically, like every DePIN ecosystem is operating in its like own ecosystem, own niche market, and they are kind of in silos, right? It's like every DePIN project, when they want to roll out their service, they need to build the trust from scratch, and there's like hardly any connections among various DePIN projects, and like for one DePIN project, when they build up trust, it's also hard for them to share their trust to other DePIN projects. And what we're thinking is that, hey, given that there are so many networks out there that are already pretty strong and robust, is it possible you can reuse the trust of existing networks and then use that as a shared economic guarantee for emerging DePINs? If that's the case, that's kind of all this emerging, all these like existing and very established networks are kind of taking like a venture stance towards newer and emerging DePIN, and in exchange, they're in exchange for vouching for their new services, they get some tokens in return, right? So if you think about that, it's kind of like a restaking, but for DePIN. And if you look at the stats, there are already like lots of significant capital on the largest DePIN and DePIN layer ones. And also for Filecoin, right? Filecoin is one of the largest DePIN, already has over 600 million US dollar in its locked assets. If you roll the clock back about 2 months ago, that number was like about 2 billion, right? So that's a lot of capital, it's a lot of trust towards the Filecoin storage services that we can potentially activate and reuse it. So this is kind of like our ideal picture, right? We build like a shared trust layer for DePIN adoptions where DePIN projects and the DePIN layer ones can share trust from more established networks and then use that to vouch for new DePIN services. And every ecosystem is connected, and Parasail is there to break down all the silos. So our solution is that we build two things. First is that we build a omni-chain DePIN proof of service that allows one DePIN project to publish its DePIN service finality and service results on multiple blockchains. And it does not really matter which blockchain they are using for their transactions. And second is that we build like economic guarantee pools. So those are pools that with assets, with restake assets, to provide guarantee to the DePIN SLAs. And it works like this. So you have three main users, right? So you will have the DePIN services, you will have the restakers, and also you will have the DePIN users. And the flow looks like this. So for any DePIN services, they can use Parasail and they can set up an economic guarantee pool with Parasail. And then they can attract like restakers to delegate their more established token assets to vouch for their services. And what Parasail does is that we set up a DePIN proof of service, and then we monitor and listen to all the service failure events for these particular DePIN services, and then we broadcast to where the Parasail economic guarantee pools are hosted. So if you are a DePIN user, right now previously you come to like any DePIN, and then you're trying to use that service, you pay for some service, and then in the case of service failure, you are like, oh no, like this service has failed, what can I do, right? There's nothing you can do. At most, this DePIN will refund you, but in their own tokens. And for DePIN it's still in their early stages or in testnet phases, there's really nothing the DePIN service can do, right, to retain this user. But with Parasail, the users can get a cut of the economic guarantee pools that's set up by like restakers, and they can be paid in more established assets such as like Filecoin or stake Filecoins, and then so that it's like offer them a stronger confidence of using to try out and using such service. Yeah, so and then that creates the Parasail flywheel, right? So you have the DePIN projects that's gaining the trust and sharing the trust from restakers with their assets from more like a developed network. They share their revenue to all these restakers in exchange. DePIN users, when they're using like DePIN service, they pay for their services, and they get more reliable service. And then in case of service failures, they get a payout from the, oops, what's going on? Yeah, they get a payout from Parasail. And then for DePIN projects, they don't need to, carry the cost of, needing to put up so much money in case of refunds, in case of service failures, because they can just use token and crypto incentives to incentivize more restakers to come in and vouch for their services. So this really helps them, grow their scale more efficiently, and then also lower the cost to acquire and retain users. And lastly, what does that mean for Filecoin? So first of all, I want to set this straight. So Filecoin, Parasail is not a field liquid staking or a lending protocol. We are trying to establish a public trust layer for users to vouch for Filecoin services. And it works like this. So we build a decentralized economic guarantee to storage services on Filecoin. And there could be more services on Filecoin in the future, and then so this could be like more of a general use case. And what Parasail users do is that they collectively secure the storage services offer on Filecoin and share part of the storage provider's income as their rewards. And it is permissionless participation for everyone, right? So you can have the storage providers, they already have locked so much Filecoin in the network. To some extent, this is like natively staked Filecoin, and then they can restake their Filecoin through PFIL, which is an instrument that we created to help them obtain more liquidity and participating in restaking. And for field holders, they can either deposit their field tokens to obtain PFIL, right, and contribute to the collective trust of Filecoin, or they can deposit other liquid staking tokens such as iFill from Glyph to do the same thing, right? Eventually, we're using assets to provide trust and provide a guarantee within Filecoin. And if you go beyond Filecoin, right, we can use the field tokens in the restake format to secure new DePIN services. That just opens the door for Filecoin to leverage on its crypto economics, and then attract more DePIN projects to build on Filecoin, right? So you can have the stake field either in PFIL or in iFill, and then you can delegate those in the Parasail economic guarantee pool, and then you can use that to secure DePIN services that are building on Filecoin. Yeah, so that's kind of generally like the use cases that we enable for Filecoin, right? So it's no longer just like there for staking and storage payments. Right now, you have much more like a wider range of use cases for the Filecoin assets. Yeah, so that's it for the presentation. Hope this is an informative one for you guys, and contact us if you're interested in knowing more about Parasail. Cool, thank you.